Welcome back to KingWoes Court, episode 39, Inbound. Woo! I have the originator of the woo here with me tonight, and it's an amazing pleasure to have Venus DeVilo, the voice of horror, with me tonight on KingWoes Court. How are you? I was going to say my man. How are you, my man?
My man, well,
Yeah.
dude, bro, I'm just good. I'm just after been lifting some weights and crushing some cans and nailing some chicks. Yeah, no, I'm really glad to be here. It's been a long time coming, so thanks so much for having me on. I'm a big fan, so this is great.
Thank you.
Great.
I never heard of you, and I don't mean that in a bad way. As you said, I think you are Dublin's best kept secret. And I'm hoping I don't explode you tonight, but give people a little insight into who Venus really is. Yeah, I mean, we see how it goes, Excuse me. So you have an awful lot of strings to your bow, don't you? Really? And yeah, but what I'd like to talk about first of all is your music career. Because I can't believe... Did I see you have 16 releases or 17 releases or something like that?
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. It's unusual for me not to hear of someone with that many releases. I'll at least hear of one of them, but you're obviously doing a really good job of keeping under the radar. Is that by choice?
It's a weird combination of yes and no. So I'll bring it back to, I suppose where it began. Yeah. Basically, I wanted to be a musician since I was 6, 7, 8, specifically 8 years old when Britney Spears' Hit Me Baby One More Time hit the scenes and changed pop culture forever.
Yeah.
But so I've wanted to be a musician since then, and since I was 11, 12, 13, finally at the age of 13 managed to bully my mother into buying me an acoustic guitar. I wanted to be Avril Lavigne, all that.
Yeah.
I've been writing since I was old enough. My first ever song I wrote when I was 5, and it was called Ghost Town, and it was about this people who go to this town. It's filled with ghosts and vampires. I literally have it framed in my room. I'll show you another time.
Did you ever record it actually?
No, because I was 5, and it was the 90s.
No,
so you're
later on,
when you're a 5-year-old. No, I am gonna go back and dig that out. It's over there in a pile.
Awesome. That's it. That's great to have that, and that's just like me. We recorded a song that we had written 10 years prior to recording it, if you get me.
Ah,
yes,
yeah,
and it was a really cool feeling to be able to finally kind of hear it on tape, say,
Yeah.
So go on anyway.
So basically since I was 13 years old, I have actively been pursuing a career in the music industry, just with the writing and recording on my little box tape recorder, albums and demos, and trying to 13-year-old me sending out really shit demos out, leaving them in record shops and music shops, and when I'd go to gigs, I'd be there listen to me demo, oh god, hustle. Nobody can hustle like Venus DeVilo. So then when I first heard about the Ballyfermot College of Further Education's rock school, that was the only college I was going to go to. That was the only course I was going to do. All my teachers, I'd give, when I was in 5th and 6th year, I'd give them heart attacks and conniptions, because they were can you please just pick a career that we can put on the CAO? And I'm like, no, rockstar. I will accept no substitute. So it's been that. And then I went and I studied the 2 years there at the BCFE Rock School, and I thoroughly recommended it. It was phenomenal. It was a really important kind of period for me, because I was really bad. The passion and the drive and the creativity was there, but it's just channeling that and honing that and kind of perfecting your craft and learning to play guitar standing up and not just sitting down on your bed. That was a real make or break moment, my first time standing up playing guitar. And I'd kind of done a lot when I was a kid. I entered a lot of really cheesy kind of talent shows and stuff, and kind of singing in supermarkets and shopping centers and stuff like that, but it wasn't me, because I've been a spooky bitch since I was born. My earliest memory is me throwing a tantrum when I'm 2 or 3 years old in my pram, because I went to see Santa, and I was fucking the reindeer selection box back out of the pram going, I want the spooky mask, I want the spooky mask. So there's always been the love of music and then the love of horror, and that kind of culminated. Is culminated even a word? Well, it is.
Culminated, yeah.
culminated into kind of Venus DeVilo, and I'd kind of always known who I wanted to be and who I was kind of very much influenced by, and I always kind of took great inspiration from the bands that I listened to, but I always wanted to kind of write music that I'd want to listen to myself. And I found that with women in metal, I personally wasn't satisfied with what I was seeing. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of respect for women in metal, but just for my personal self, there was something I felt that was missing, just something with a bit more bite, like literally, because I always felt like songs, even in pop, they all have to be, if you're a woman and you're singing a song, it's going to have to be about love, and you're either have to be going like Adele, I'll never find someone like you, you know, really sad, or you'll have to go, I don't need no man, I'm Beyonce, look at my dance, you know what I mean? But I'm like, there's so much in love and emotions and everything in songwriting. There's all these wonderful, horrible, confusing in between emotions, like anger, betrayal, revenge. It's not just black or white, like I'm heartbroken, I want to die, or I'm so over you, I don't even need you. That's what I really tended to gravitate on, and that's why I have a lot of songs about stalking and cannibalism and necrophilia and stuff like that. You know, there's just this whole spectrum of possibilities out there and songs that just I felt weren't being reached by women in metal. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. And I've been an acoustic horror, folk, punk rock, cabaret noir musician for a long time, and I'll be honest, that wasn't really my first choice. Like, what I've always wanted to do is kind of what I'm doing with Ash Irie, which is the hard driving kind of symphonic metal kind of thing with a band, but with you know, with a unique twist. But it's just, I'm a hard person to work with, and what I do is very scary. Like, I'm a strong, confident woman with a very strong personality. A lot of people, like, I'm not dissing Irish musicians, but my personal direct experience is a lot of people are very frightened of that. They're threatened by that. They're like, who's this weirdo with an acoustic guitar singing about like burying her boyfriend alive, that kind of thing, you know? So there was a lot of yeah, I know. So there was kind of a lot of turn me and his punctuality and doing things right and doing things on time, and just I didn't write I didn't meet the right people, you know, when I was younger. It was, you know, everything was more about the session and the cans. We'll have it like a 9-hour jam and not come out of it with even a single song. So for me, in the state of mind I was in when I was younger, because I was so ambitious and so driven, I was like, no, I used to eat, sleep, breathe my music career and Venus DeVilo, and to the detriment of like everything around me. And I'm like, no, I am not doing anything unless it's going to further the career of Venus DeVilo. So that's the state of mind I was in when I excuse me, when I left Ballyfermot College Rock School in 2011. And I think by the end of first year I was one of the students that they thought they would like never see again, gonna drop out, gonna never return. But then by the end of 2011 they were like, okay, she's gonna be big.
That's awesome, man. It's a great story to hear as well. I suppose when it comes to women in metal, I mean, there is this kind of, they have to go either one of two ways. It's either, as you said, the la 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 la, or the which I personally does nothing for me. So something with a little bit of substance to it, and something that's kind of outside the box. I mean, to be outside the box in a metal kind of type thing is very intriguing to me, I think, you know. And you know, like what you're doing really intrigues me. It really fucking intrigues me. It's
weird, because like when I first left college and had left that kind of bubble, like everyone was completely terrified of me in college. I'll be honest, they hadn't a clue what I was doing, because like just the group I was in, for my peer group, they were all very like jazz and blues and folk, so very nice young wee Irish lads and lasses. And so like even my peer group at college, it was lots of blues and jazz and folk, and you know, lots of very nice Irish wee lads and wee lasses. And then there was me, which was completely terrifying, I think, for everyone, even my teachers and my mentors. Like our songwriting tutor at college, absolute legend, Francie Conway. Like if it wasn't for the fact that one day he happened to see that I had a Marilyn Manson CD with me, and he was like, play some of that for me on the speakers in the classroom.
Yeah.
And I played him Kaboom Kaboom off the Golden Age of Grotesque album, and he was like, okay, I understand you a bit more now. So it was kind of weird. So that was kind of the environment I was in, where like it was a hard struggle for me, because I had to learn a lot, because I did not know my craft at all. Do you know what I mean? Not at all, but you learn.
Yeah.
You're not, nobody's good. You have to practice so your fingers bleed.
Yeah.
And so when I left that, it was like, okay, well, where do I fit in? Because I was too heavy for the acoustic scene, and I was too acoustic for the heavy scene. So that's always kind of been, it's a whole thing. That's always been my problem. So I still did the acoustic scene for about 10 years, 7 nights a week. I'd go out gigging at open mics. So
fair play.
Literally playing to like one old man in a flat cap, playing some of like my most iconic horror folk punk songs, like literally playing Heartless Horseman and Necromance and fucking It's My Party, I'll Die If I Want To, and I've got 99 Zombies and a Witch Ain't One, literally to like some old man in a flat cap bar. Like, you know what I mean? Like literally that's what I had to do, because it's like I remember when we were filming the Ashiri documentary, and the director Angel Kreuter was like, the whole point of metal is, one of the great things about metal is that it's DIY. Yeah. And I'm like, well, look, if I want to make music, it's not going to be easy for me, because of just the genre I fell into. So I was like, I want to do this, so I'm going to bring it. So I busked, I went to open mic nights, I found whatever gigs I could do, I opened up for metal bands. I actually fell into a really weird niche of doing a lot of horror burlesque and cabaret nights, where I would be like, they're like, if we don't have you doing music, we're just a strip club, you need to you know what I mean? Like, so a lot of that stuff that happened, like, and so that's kind of the genre I went down. But I was able to kind of take the kind of theatrical things I'd learned from being dabbling in acting myself, and then doing all the horror burlesque shows and stuff with the girls, and providing music for that, and doing a few bits and pieces with them and performances and stuff. I managed to like kind of channel that into how, because I'm a showman, like I'm a total show off, and a complete attention seeking show off, and I don't want to just go la 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 la, here I am with my guitar. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to put on a show, and if I have to put on a one-man show where I come out in full costume with an acoustic guitar with blood packs and exploding glitter and nails and glass, and doing it all myself to two old men in a pub on a Sunday night at like 1 a.m, then I will. And I did. And
you'll give them the best thing they'll ever see.
I will, honest to God. Yeah, no, some of my best gigs have been to like 4 people in the basement of like the Bleeding Horse. You know what I mean? And it just depends on the audience. It depends on the night. And it's like, that's one of the beautiful things about music. You could be singing about literally like necrophilia, but if you're presenting it in such a way that it's a relatable, universal kind of emotion tied to it, there will be normies in a bar who will be like, yes,
and singing a catchy line about necrophilia.
That's it. I've always wanted everything I've ever written to have a certain pop sensibility to it. Like, I know pop is verboten and forbidden and banned when it comes to the world of alternative metal, but I don't think there's anything wrong with a well-structured, catchy song that people are going to remember and sing.
Good pop music will always live forever.
It does, and I know that's made me very unpopular, and I've been booed off. I've been booed out of groups, and I've been booed in classes I've been in, because I've been to music college twice. I went to BIM another time, and people think, and see, there's this whole misconception that if you do music and it's popular, that's a bad thing. You have to want to be a rock star, but you're not allowed to want it. You know what I mean? I've always been that's kind of where I've kind of fallen down with my peers and fellow musicians, because I think it might just be an Irish thing, because everybody's really humble and self-deprecating, and you can't want to be famous. And I'm like, I don't see anything wrong with wanting to create music that lasts longer than you, because we're only here for like, the blink of an eye.
Exactly. You want to leave a legacy behind, don't you?
That's it. Like, and apparently you're not allowed to have that. And I'm like, well, no, I want that, so that was kind of it. So I've kind of found my weird niche for years and kind of got into the groove. And then I went back to college after about 5 years of doing it solo on the road. Went to BIM, did the 1-year songwriting course. They're actually really good course, really good. Much different to BCFE. It's harder. It's more it's more kind of, it's not a fame school, but it's definitely more industry orientated
Right.
rather than, I felt like I learned, like I feel like going to BCFE first was better because it taught me how to hone my craft, and then it's like the next level with BIM. But one of the things with BIM is I actually realized when I was there that I knew everything the songwriting teachers were teaching us, I knew equal to or greater than.
Wow.
So I left that year going, oh well, this is all the stuff. And even some of the teachers, like if there was hard criticism or something that they could tell in other people's songs, they'd always get me to like be the one to tell them, like, Nelly, so what did you think of that? And I'm like, well. So it was a weird experience. Like, no, look, you never stop learning. There's always something to know. My tracks are by absolutely no means perfect, by no means perfect, but that was it. And the whole time that I'm doing all these gigs, I'm going to colleges, I'm honing my crafts, I'm doing workshops, and even doing a bit of music teaching myself. I'd been recording the whole time.
Cool.
Writing and recording. They were all no budget, shoestring budget, low tech albums and singles and EPs, absolutely everything and anything that I could record whenever and wherever I could record it. Me and my old songwriting teacher, no, he wasn't my songwriting teacher, he was my guitar teacher, my very old guitar teacher from my very first guitar teacher from back in my olden days. He actually for 25 quid a song, he'd let you like stand in front of his computer and microphone and he'd record the song. No, to be fair to him, Darren was actually really good, and he really helped me get my he helped me start my recording career, such as it was. And so I've been recording since then, and as you said, I've got like upwards of like I think it was around 20 albums, kind of, well, if you include singles and EPs and stuff, it was upwards. It was prolific. Just absolutely everything and anything that I could record, I did.
And have you still got that kind of hunger as well to keep doing that?
I don't know. Life is strange. Life is very strange. I didn't have a great experience when it came to getting signed to a record label. No beef on the record label. Look, we just collaborated at the wrong time, and nobody benefited from the situation.
Right.
And it also came because it was just a whole thing. It wasn't even a whole thing. It doesn't even matter. Like they wanted to sign me, I wanted to be signed by them, but then unfortunately it's just one of those things. I didn't know what to do with having a record label, and I don't think he really maybe knew what to do with me as an artist. A lot of that was to do with the fact that I had stopped creating music at that point. Like for mental health reasons, I had stopped writing, and it's still hard to get back into writing even now, like 4 years on. It's a weird one. It's hard because like you can't kind of do what I was doing for like 10 years and not get burnt out or have your confidence kind of shaken. It's just there's only kind of so much you can do on your own. And like I'd done so much, and then I'm like, I've only done this much, and it's you burn yourself out, and then you're left with like, I don't know. It was just a weird experience. Like I'd worked so hard, and then I was just like, it was just a whole thing, It's just a whole mental health thing when you're working. Like it's the same for anybody in the arts industry. If you're trying to get yourself up off the ground and you're working morning, noon, and night, like there's only so long you can do that without just like completely like mentally collapsing.
It's very true. It's very, very true. Even on my in my aspect of things, like a lot of my kind of mental health issues, I didn't realize I was writing about them until I was like, I write subconsciously sometimes. And there's one or two particular tracks. I'll send them to you at some point. And you're just like, Jesus, that is actually about how I was feeling at that time. And I think that's the most powerful thing about music. So some people write like just to make money or whatever, right? I write stuff to get shit off my chest, and get my head straight, and it's just great to have like that. There's so many different aspects of music that you can enjoy, isn't there? There really is.
Well, that's it. Like there is, first and foremost, there is no shame from making music to make money. I have to fight that taboo. I honest to God, no, there's no shame. Like, there's no shame in being
No.
able to pay rent.
It's a different way.
Then
It's a different way, though.
It is, but just the cathartic element of songwriting is phenomenal. Like, I think everybody should write songs, be it even if they're bassists and drummers or just even sound like, honest to God, everybody should just write songs, even if they're shit.
My daughter's even helped me write a couple of songs.
Oh no way! What does she do? What does she do?
Actually, like, she'd put a couple of lines in songs just to kind of put her stamp on one or two of her songs, like,
That's lovely.
It's just,
Daddy, buy me a pony. Yeah. Daddy, buy me a pony.
Oh no, she gave away her rights for some Shopkins a few years ago, so.
Oh.
But we have that kind of
I will buy you this pop figure if you give me the next hook for my song.
And you know what's funny? Like there's a particular song I have on one of my side projects, and she wrote the catchiest part of the bloody song.
Good for her.
Which, of course, I'm delighted about.
Absolutely.
She's learning bass at the moment, which is great.
Oh,
yeah,
lovely. That's a transferable skill. She will be needed in every band ever.
Here's hoping.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And is she into the metal then?
She likes a lot of music, but she loves 80s music, and she loves her Queen is her favorite band.
Oh, brilliant.
And then my band, of course,
Of course.
She just loves me. She's like very like me. She likes good music. Loves 80s. I love 80s music as well, and she's she loves ABBA. She's mad about ABBA.
Brilliant. Yeah. Yes, your daughter just has exquisite taste by the sound of it. Fair fucks to you for your parenting.
Thank you. And the great thing about that as well is she has seen Slayer 3 times.
Shut up.
She's only 14. Yeah. So
that's absolutely brilliant. That is some extreme parenting.
That's how you do it. That's it. Like, I mean, she would have been brought up in a metal household. My parent was a metal fan as well. But at the same time, we do understand if she wants to discover pop music with like her friends and all that kind of stuff. So she went off and listened to that kind of stuff for about a week.
The Justin Biebers of the world.
Yeah. Now, I have said, like, if she did want to ever go and see that son of a bitch, I'd go and bring her, But,
oh my God, you take a bullet for her, man.
Yeah, damn right, man. Because imagine saying, no, you can't look at this music, I'd just make her want to watch it even more. So she came back. She came back in her own way. So
that's fabulous. And you make a really valid point, because if you as a metalhead parent are putting your foot down saying, no, you can't like pop, no, you can't like rap, no, you can't do this, that's the exact same that parents of metalheads used to do. They're like, no, you can't be listening to that devil worship music, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do it's the same thing. And it should flow both ways, the respect and the freedom to listen.
I used to get a bit worried though when she would sing fucking Dead Skin Mask by Slayer, like, the song about Again. And
right,
yeah. She'd be going around singing Dance with the Dead in My Dreams. So I was like, oh God, what am I doing? Why am I doing something wrong here? And then you fast forward to like 6 months later, and she's singing The Gambler by Kenny Rogers, like,
Okay. A child of diverse taste. But you know what? Last summer when I was walking home from work, I saw these like group of like 5 or 6 little young girls from the flats. They were walking out of my flats, and they were only about like between 8 and 10 between all of them, and they were there like, that song WAP by Cardi B. They're like, I want you to park that Big Mac truck right in me little garage, and I'm like, no thank you.
I hate
and
that
this is
shit.
them just walking out in the street, and I'm like, no, like seriously, like
it's disgusting.
Look, Cardi B isn't saying anything that men in rap haven't been saying about women for donkey's years, so she can go ahead and sing that. But there's always this weird thing where it's like, when you hear little kids singing it, like, oh, it's the parents. It all comes down to the parents. Like, it is parental control, because grown women like Cardi B can write about whatever the fuck they want, but it's up to the parents, and it's that. So look, be glad your daughter's only singing about a guy, and like she could be telling a bunch of strangers on the street to park their Big Mac truck right in her little. No. Yeah, well,
let's get that out of my head there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's awful. No, it's awful.
So you do spoken word as well, don't you? That's also part of the. I see you brought an album out this year.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my way of trying to get back into music, you know what I mean? Without kind of committing to getting back into music. So I was like, because I've been doing the podcasting for the last few years, and even back when I was in full Venus DeVilo mode, I do a lot of comic books pertaining to the songs and albums, and usually any albums that would be released, they'd be released with a comic book attached, or there'd be lots of artwork, hand-drawn lyrics and stuff like that. So it was always very visual. So,
great package.
Yeah, the whole package, like there was everything. It was a whole brand, it was a whole franchise, you know. There wasn't just, you know, it wasn't just, oh, I sing songs. There was always like, okay, I sing, but I do the art as well. And there's this, and there was the whole it was like the whole kind of, you know, Elvira vampire thing. You don't, it's everything in the kind of the one go. And I used to feel a bit schizophrenic for that. I'm like, oh my God, why can't I settle to one thing? But then I think the more I see nowadays, you have to be able to do everything. You have to have a podcast if you're doing a thing. You have to do this, you have to do that. Like, you don't have to, but it everybody kind of, it does. It seems like everybody kind of does a bit of everything. Yeah. Nowadays. So through the podcasting, I felt confident enough to record my first fully spoken word album, because I've done small poetry albums and stuff like that before, but spoken word, which came out in March, that was kind of the first time where I'd had 100% control of the production and everything. And now it's very drag and drop, spooky saw effects while I speak, and there's like, you know, I discovered the echoey church reverb filter, you know, so a lot of the tracks have that. So look,
everyone loves
first
that.
effort, that's it. I feel like it's still in keeping with the kind of the Venus DeVilo.
Well, very much so. I think I was checking it out there over the last couple of days, and it's still very much in the Venus DeVilo multiverse, we'll say, universe, whatever.
Yes, that's what I like to think of it as.
Absolutely.
And and a lot of the poetry from that is just songs I could never finish, or that I had the idea for, and I'm like, well, look, let's just, you know, I don't want them to go to waste, because I hate when you come up with good ideas and it just never comes to fruition. So I was like, well, look, do these need to be a full song? Maybe things are fine as a few lines with an ambient soundtrack behind it. So I think there's more scope for that approach these days. It's more there's more of a captivated audience to listen to that kind of stuff and appreciate it more, I think. I think so, yeah. With the advent of podcasts and how people I think people almost prefer to listen to people speaking and saying words rather than singing them or just music. So I think it was the right time, because I'd done, like I said, a few poetry albums before, and they were recorded onto the mic option of my little MP3 player and then just thrown up onto Bandcamp. Give me a tenner, here's a picture. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was that's how it was done. Everything was done like really low budget. But I feel like not every, like, ideally I'd love like 50 grand to go into a big studio and do a whole huge production in an orchestra and people behind a desk going like mixing, but like at the end of the day, fucking rock and roll, man, fucking punk, you know. Yes, that's what it is. This is the song. It doesn't need, like, the whole point of it is especially with the Venus DeVilo stuff, because Venus DeVilo as a character is like an insane mental patient who's escaped from her confinement and is now wreaking havoc on the lives of those she once knew. She's not going to produce a fully mixed and immaculate album, is she? She's going to produce something that was partially recorded in a bathroom and partially recorded in a you know, alley, and gonna mash them together. You know what I mean? It's a whole concept, because with me, and particularly with Venus DeVilo, it's never just been about releasing music and releasing songs. It's always been about the concept and the idea, and it's crazy. She's crazy. It's great
that you were able to have that separation from yourself, and
you can, with something like that. You have to. It's
absolutely.
so heavy.
And you can, like, I mean, you can basically talk or sing about whatever the fuck you want, like, and then park it there and then be yourself then, like, you know.
Which is exactly the same as that, which is really funny, because everybody's like, oh, I love your character, and I'm my character, it's me, but okay, but then no, there is, I feel like, but there's a kind of a confidence that kind of comes at Venus that I've definitely over the years tried to adapt more to my life, because like you know, with mental health issues or confidence issues or anxiety or anything like that, it's like, if I'm able to like roll around on a stage with a bunch of semi-naked women covered in fake blood and we're all screaming, and I'm there with a guitar beating it off the side of an amp while someone pours,
that's a win-win in my book.
I know, like, if I'm able to do that, but then I'm not able to like stand up for myself or ask for something or have trouble approaching guys or something like that, then I'm like, no, come on, there's a disconnect somewhere. How come I could do that but I can't do that? Let's start transferring some of that to you know, daily life.
Yeah.
Maybe not all of it.
Some of it.
Some of it. Some of the more positive confidence attributes.
So this is going to sound like a strange question. Has Venus DeVilo, the character, had a really bad romantic past?
Oh yeah. Okay, so basically, right, so I have this like comic book series called Crazy for You, right? So originally, I have a song on my second album, Till Death Do Us Party. It's called Crazy for You, and it's actually funny because I only wrote that song on a whim. Kind of forced myself to write it as a songwriting exercise a couple of days before my birthday, I think in 2012 or 2013. Didn't want to write it, ends up becoming like my keystone song for like,
and that's one of my favorite songs of yours as well, by the way.
I know. Oh, thank you. I know. It's just one of those ones that it's one of those things. It's living proof that even if you don't want to write, you should just sometimes write. But I was filming a music video for that with Helgard, who used to manage Shocktopus, and he was like, oh, if you any other ways that you can think of that we can like promote this, and I'm like, oh my god, what about a comic book? So I wrote a comic book based on the backstory of well, the imaginary fictitious story of Crazy for You. For anybody who doesn't know, Crazy for You is about basically a person who breaks into someone's house who they've been having an imaginary relationship with. They're completely crazy, kill the person and eat them, or eat their significant other and feed it to them. So it's just the whole kind of crazy, like, imagine like, I don't know, like what's a film called with freaking Michael Douglas and Glenn Close?
Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction. So it's basically like that, but with more Hannibal Lecter kind of edible qualities.
Yeah.
So that kind of became a comic book, and I drew a whole comic book about like Venus DeVilo, like as like a little comic book character, like in love with Vlad Valentine, and she like escapes from the mental asylum and goes and kills his girlfriend and decapitates her, and like feeds her, like the dead woman to this other fictitious character. So that's kind of it. Like it's just the whole point of the thing is she's completely unrequited, but she's not gonna like sit there and take it. She's gonna get like, she's gonna take really grotesque action.
She'll get what she wants by any means.
She gets what she wants. Yeah, you don't have to. You just have to be there. You don't have to be alive. Like a ride is a ride. Like.
It sounds to me like Venus still has a lot more to say. That's what I think.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And there was a sequel to Crazy for You. There was Crazy for You 2, the sequel, and I have been trying to write the third one for years. It's just been a time issue, but I want to do it like a big proper one. And I even want there's a whole thing. Like I did about 20 comic books in a very short space of time, and I'd love to keep doing that. It's just work, life, adulting. Like it's literally, there's just not enough hours in the day.
It does. It gets in the way, doesn't it? At times, life. I mean, not your creative.
Oh my god, that damn creativity! I wish I wasn't such a genius.
Cut it off at the neck. So, I know as well you're very interested in Japan and Japanese culture and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the horror side.
Talk to me about that brief. Don't tell me too much though, because I do want you to come. No, I want you to come on the slab in a little while as well to educate me on all that.
Okay, well, long story short, as we've already established, I'm an absolute horror whore. Love horror of every capacity. But when you have read as much horror as I have, be it comic books, novels, novellas, and seen as many horror movies and listened to as many horror radio plays, and when you've absorbed as much horror as me, a lot of it starts to get very samey and very boring. So British and American horror, while I love and have huge respect for, I just wanted something more. And then I discovered the Japanese horror from both a cinematic point of view, and novels, not great, but the movies and even just the urban legends and the folklore. It was just like a whole new, it's like if you're like, oh, I might try smoking a cigarette, and then before you know it, you're shooting heroin, you know. I'm not saying you are, but you know.
Nice way to put it.
Kinda, I know, yeah, it was literally just like, I saw The Grudge once and I didn't look back, and I know a lot of people have a lot of issue with The Grudge because it's not that scary. Look, in 2000 it was okay. It was, and it was a whole gateway for me. So the whole Japanese thing, I just find them a bit scarier. than some of the more westernized horror. I think their ghosts are more aggressive. The Japanese don't really believe in happy endings in movies, which is something I've always taken umbrage and issue with myself in movies, because that is not what happens with life. There are no happy endings in life. You just choose how you die.
Very true.
That's what I loved about Japanese horror, the fact that they were so brave, so raw, and so extreme. Oh, I love my extreme horror, but the Japanese just take that up a notch. But there's also this absolutely bizarre comedy to it as well. It's like, you know, almost perverse. Like, it's like there'll be horrible things, but then there'll be touches of comedy. It's just done really well. It's just done really well, and I just find it's very frightening. And I don't know whether I'm like a reincarnated Japanese person from another life or something, or whether it just happens to resonate with me because it's darker than some of the other horror out there, and that's just me. So I don't know, but anyway, that's always been an influence on my music as well.
The younger Japanese people seem to have a voracious appetite for the dark and the strange, don't they?
Yeah, that's it. Like, everything is very weird to come out of there, and I think a lot of it is most likely just rooted in their folk history and their own history, because, you know, they were completely cut off from all Western influence for several hundred years there, until like Matthew Commodore Perry in 18 something kind of forced them to open their borders to the rest of the world. So there was several years where they were completely untouched by Western hands, untouched by Christianity, and they could completely come up with their own ideas for things and their own way of thinking and their own way of doing things. And I think that's kind of stayed to this day, even with their westernization, and I think that's had a huge influence on their outputs in pop culture and creative mediums.
And as well as that, I think, you know, the way you were saying, like, their history and their folklore, a lot of European folklore is kind of copied to a point. Whereas from what I do know of Japanese folklore, it's very, very, very original.
Yeah,
you know,
it's different.
Yeah, and I think you have to have an appreciation for that in some form or another, you know. Now, in terms of the horror stuff, I wouldn't be as overly familiar with it, but that's just the way I have been, you know. But from the way you're describing it to me, I should like it because I love dark horror. I love when there's no happy endings. I love atmosphere, and atmosphere is my favorite word when it comes to describing my favorite horror films, you know. They don't have to be the biggest films in the world, even though I have got the big fellas on my arm, but, like, you know, one of my favorite films is Ravenous. Do you know Ravenous? Which one is that? It's Guy Ritchie and Robert Carlyle, and it's about cannibalism.
Oh yeah, Jesus, I haven't seen that in donkey's years.
Yeah,
that's very good.
Yeah, but like it wasn't, again, it didn't get huge. It actually lost money. Do you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean anything to me. I mean, I just love that film, and I've watched it all the time. And in terms of Japanese, I do. You need to send me a list of films to watch.
Yeah, I will. I'll give you like the Venus DeVilo beginner's guide to J horror, because like, a lot of it is really weird. A lot of it is crap. Some of my favorite Japanese horror movies are absolute shit. Like, they're utter shit, and you're watching them on a tiny phone screen on YouTube with really bad subtitles Espanol, also habla inglesi. Do you know what I mean? So it's weird. I think it really has to depend, but I think it's almost like you're watching around the movie. You're watching what's not happening in the movie. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just to say what you were saying about atmosphere, and The Blair Witch is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I know people are like, that's just 4 people with a camera in the forest and nothing happens, and I'm like, that's what's fucking scary, man.
Like, I really do feel you can only watch that film once, you know.
Well, I watch it like every summer. Me and my mom watch it every summer as a thing.
I still remember it as clear as that, and I purposely won't watch it again, because I had such a good experience watching it. Yeah. Believe it or not.
Yeah, no, I do. 100%.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've a story to tell you about that film, actually, but I'm not going to tell you now because we'll be here all night.
On the horror podcast. On the horror podcast.
Exactly. So, we're going to talk about your upcoming track on a Shirey. Absolutely. That's the very one. That song has been in my fucking head for the last 3 weeks.
Good. That was my plan.
Yes.
That was the intention. Mission accomplished.
Yes. Tell me, I know we've done the documentary and all that kind of stuff, but let's, not everyone may have to watch the documentary, so let's give a little bit of an insight into how you got involved in All Early Metal Project and your song and who's with you and all that kind of stuff.
So, picture it, it's March 2021. Everyone is fed up from the fucking lockdown that won't end. I had just released Spoken Word. I was preparing to work with an old musician friend of mine, David Mooney, on an upcoming album of mine that's coming out on October. It's like Spoken Word, but more advanced and more heavier. It's called Cadaverotica.
Oh, nice.
And again, I know, yeah. And it is also songs that I had never finished or could never put music to. Dave's put music to them or ambient soundtracks to it, so that's what that is. So we're there working away on that, and then the good man himself, Dara, comes along and says, listen, do you want to do a few vocals or something like on this project thing I'm getting together? And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, grand. Actually no, that's not, that was the second thing he said. So the first thing he said was, yeah, listen, I'm doing this metal he said, because he's collaborating on the album with me, Cadaverotica, as well. He's supplied a backing track that I have put vocals to and I rap on it. And I know, yeah. And he said, listen, you're doing a metal collaboration thing in October or something, aren't you? And I'm like, well, it's not really. It's kind of more just me and a few other different musicians kind of making spooky sounds together and doing weird things. But yeah, I am. He's like, do you want to contribute a track for that, for my project? And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then he's like, do you want to do a few vocals or something? I'll put you into the group. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. I'll never hear from that again. So then I just say to Dave, I like, listen, I've just been asked if I want to contribute one of the tracks from the album we're working on for October to some project thing that like Dara's working on. Will we just make one of the tracks a bit heavier and I'll send that on? He's like, yeah, grand. Then I get added to the group, and then I see the sheer volume of people involved, the absolute fucking level of effort that's gone into it already, because I came into the project about a week or so after it had already been set up. So there's about nearly 150 people in that group. Yeah. They're all teaming up with bands. There's so much more backstory to it, because I just thought, because you know the way people like to collaborate, and Dara loves collaborating, and other people I just thought it was like, you're hopping on a track or something. I had absolutely no idea the sheer gravity of the situation. Do you know what I mean? I had no idea the mission, like the organizational skills. Like I pride myself on being good with an Excel sheet, but Jesus Christ, like. Do you know what I mean? You saw that Excel sheet with all the musicians on it.
Excel is his middle name.
Yeah, literally. So I was like, I cannot be in good conscience. I cannot be on this project and just throw one of my shitty little fucking spoken word tracks with Dave doing a bit of chug over it onto this. I said, if everybody else is making the effort to go grassroots and start from scratch and reach out and network and mingle and meet new people and get out of their comfort zone, because I was afraid to do that, because like I said, I've been in and out of the Irish metal community for like over 10 years, and some of it positive, some of it not positive. That's the same for everyone. So I was very jaded, and I'm like, oh god, Irish metal musicians. And like I said in the documentary, and I'll say it again and I'll keep saying it, this project has completely turned me around on Irish metal musicians. It's all, like I said, like literally, because just in my personal, like I said, my previous experiences, I obviously just hadn't met the right people, because like lazy, inconsistent fucking time wasters in the past. These people involved in Ash Irie, they are not, oh my god, they are not. They're some of the most creative, hardworking fucking beasts I think I've ever, and in just 6 months I've made more connections and friends that I honest to god that I have done in 10 years of just gigging around and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And it's phenomenal. So I said to Dave, I said, yeah, listen, look, we can't just submit one of our shitty little tracks. Don't get me wrong, everybody buy the album on Spotify and stream it, like, but you know what I mean, like there's a difference between a V2V track, which is a low budget, no budget, weird kind of experimental avant-garde piece of concept art, rather than a really fucking well polished track. So I just said to Dave, I said, here, look, what if we actually wrote a song for it? And he was like, yeah, okay, grand. And then I'm looking at the conversations in the chat. I'm looking at the Excel sheets. I'm looking at the kind of things people are doing, and I'm like, Jesus, there's a lot of testosterone on this album. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot like really good, proper heavy music, but I was like, there's too much testosterone in this. And I'm like, Dave, yeah, have you there's like this time, you know, that kind of music where it's like classical music but it's metal, and I could not think of the word of it at all. Like for the life of me, it's like, you know, it's kind of like Nightwish but better. And then like Dave just sends me back this voice app, and he's like so fucking excited. Like he's like, I love symphonic metal. This is like my dream to do symphonic metal. I need to like, I've like got like thousands of demos and stuff. And he was like really excited. I'm like, okay, well let's do a symphonic metal track then. And he like just sent me, he's like, yeah, I'll send you on like something and you can have a listen to it and you can tell me if you like it or not. And you know when your face gets melted when you open up a track and you're like, okay, well, what's this going to be? Is this going to be Ho Hum? And then you're like, oh. That's literally what it was like. And it's so funny because shortly after Dave sent me that, and I'm like, okay, we're going to be working on this symphonic metal song. Dara actually added me onto the group Excel sheet as Spooky Metal, Venus DeVilo Spooky Metal. And I was like, that's fine. I'll just leave that there. But then this chap sends me a message, Michael Bugadzki. It's a Polish name, so please forgive me.
Yeah.
I haven't drunk my Windolene, so I can't pronounce it properly. But Mike gets in touch with me and he's like, oh, hi, I just saw on the Excel sheet that you're doing spooky metal. What's that about? And I'm like, oh, listen, sorry, it's not actually spooky metal. Just the organizer put that on before my project was solidified or anything. It's actually a symphonic metal project, man. Now, you're more than welcome to it. He's like, oh, yeah, so like I'm a symphonic metal drummer. And I'm like, get in my group. It's like, you know, when Homer from The Simpsons is out and about and he finds like the expired medicines, wire hangers, and newspapers on the side of the street. He's like, get these into the house. I'm like, get into my band. So then it was the three of us, and it was just the right, like I said, the right people at the right time. And it was so funny because I remember how excited I was when I heard Dave's first demo of the song that would ultimately, I think it was originally his version was called Plague of Worlds, and it's now called Oiwa Monogatari. And it's so funny because once they started putting live instruments on it, and it was like, between Dave and Mike like mixing it and then sending it back, and then the feedback and the back and forth, each version they sent just got better and better. And I'm like, I can't believe that, like, because it was so strong to begin with. I was like, shut up, it's unreal.
It's absolutely, I mean, I personally wouldn't have been into symphonic metal per se, and I just... Me
neither, not really.
Yeah, I'd associate it with Nightwish and all that kind of shit, but this has something different to it. It has a bite. It has a bite, and there's... I must commend you on your vocals. Your vocals are absolutely class on the track.
It's hilarious because that's not even me good.
No, excuse me.
They're awful. They're awful. I had to record them myself down in Troubadour Studios with this exact setup, a Rode podcast mic, and this little feckin' laptop here. Me with Audacity open in front of me, terrified for my life that something was going to stop recording, and clipping everywhere. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, just take them. If you want me to go kill myself, I will, it's fine. And they're like, no, don't even worry about, no, like, to be fair, Dave and Mike were absolutely fantastic for the support, because I'd recorded podcasts and I'd done like spoken word and stuff, so I had some audio recording experience, but for singing it's a whole different ball game.
Big time.
Whole different ball game. And it was great, and it was really weird to be singing again after like not singing for like 4 years or something. Wow. And it was really cool. And it's funny because I was actually going to do an Instagram video about this, but the song went through so many permutations before it became Oiwa, because like originally because the chorus that Dave sent was so good, because it's do 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 do, and I'm like, that is such a really good universal thing, because it's like syllable, here's some more syllables. Do you know what I mean? It's like 3-3-5 in the syllables, and I'm like, that's a really good chant. Yeah. So it went from Dracula, battery, and then Cthulhu, and then for a while I didn't know what the story was, but it was going to be called bury me in red, and I don't know why. Do you know what I mean? And then, but I knew that in the wrong hands, that song, good as it was musically, it could kind of go out with a whimper and not a bang, because one of the key things I'm really, as a songwriter, really gay for is story. There has to be a story to a song. There's so many amazing, phenomenal metal songs out there, world-class musicianship, phenomenal structure, timing, but the lyrics are so lame and there's no real story. And I don't care what bullshit people are saying about it's from the heart. Yeah, but your heart is boring. Sell it to the audience. Do you know what I mean?
A brown heart.
It's like a combination of, you have to get the catharsis out, you have to get that feeling out, you have to give the audience something they can relate to, but you also have to entertain the audience. And that's one of the things I love about metal. Like, one of the best gigs I ever went to was Kiss. Like, they put on a show.
I love Kiss.
You know what I mean? I went through a big phase of them. Don't really like them anymore because they're a bit lame now. That I'm a cool grown up, but phenomenal. Do you know, you have that, and Alice Cooper. Oh my God, so much love in my heart for Alice Cooper. He puts on a show. Every song is a story. Like, Alice Cooper was in absolutely 1 billion trillion % integral in the forming of
I wouldn't have guessed. I mean,
I know. So
I love my favorite Alice Cooper album is Welcome to My Nightmare. So that just so epitomizes shock rock, or whatever you want to call it. Like,
that's it. And it's all a story, and it's all a show. You know what I mean? And it's all about showing the light and shade. But I knew that with this song, if I pick, I knew with a chorus like that, with the do 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 do, I knew I had to pick a character that was worthy of this chorus. And I like I just told you, I racked my brains. I came up with every Cthulhu for a long time. It's gonna be Cthulhu. Do you know what I mean? Like, I tried so hard to come up with the right person, and because I'm so involved in the whole Japanese horror thing, and because I write for a Japanese J-horror fan site, the Array, there was just a lot of it. I'm exposed to a lot of things, and I was really thinking outside the box. And on my podcast, the Straight Outta Kanto podcast radio show, I remember the show I did last year about I was just chatting with this other girl who's like a professional academic Japanologist, and she was like, oh yeah, one of my favorite like Japanese ghost stories is about this woman called Oiwa, who she's like betrayed and killed by her husband, but then she comes back from the dead and like kills his wife, kills him, and but like in a really horrible way. Like, it's a very, very long story, and it's brutal. But at the crux of it, I was like, that sounds like my Crazy for You song. That's such a Venus DeVilo thing to do, because Oiwa basically dies a horrible, slow, poisoned death. She becomes this grotesque, horrible thing. She's all being poisoned and stuff, and then she dies, and then the husband goes to marry this new bitch, right? And when he lifts up her bridal veil, the face is Oiwa's, and he decapitates her, but then it turns out he just decapitated his wife. So then he goes into his father-in-law's room, and he's like, I just killed your daughter, oh my God, what do I do? But instead of the father-in-law behind the desk, it's Oiwa. So he chops off her head, and he just keeps on chopping off people's heads, thinking it's Oiwa, and it's not. And she torments him to madness, and she's basically the original Kayako from The Grudge. Through her grudge, she never lets him go. She drives him mad, and I'm like, that is such a fucking Venus DeVilo like thing to do. I've spent like the last 10-15 years of my career writing songs about that shit, and I'm like, what if we go at Oiwa? And with the exception of like me, I listened through hours and hours of audio of how the hell you actually pronounce the name Oiwa. I don't know. I pronounce it several different ways in the song and when I talk about it, and based on what I've heard, all of them seem to be acceptable.
I think so. But yeah, from my little bit of research, I think the way you're pronouncing it is fine.
It is. It seems to be like, because there's no one YouTube video or movie. There's actually a really good Takashi Miike movie called Over Your Dead Body, actually based on it, and it's interesting as well because it's not actually an obscure, random Japanese thing. The Legend of Oiwa is actually the something called Nihon Sandai Kaiden, which means the big 3 Japanese ghosts, and she is number 1.
Wow.
So it'd be like our Banshee. She'd be like our Banshee, do you know what I mean? Kind of, except she doesn't have a comb because she has no hair because it fell out because she was poisoned.
And she's not singing.
But that's kind of how that happened. Wow. No, she's not. So I just loved the story. I loved the betrayal because it was horrific, because women being fucked over by men historically is just a topic of interest of mine, and just something I'm interested in and pay attention to, and you know, and just the repercussions. But then when you see them getting revenge even from beyond the grave, I think it's wonderful. So
it's like a final fuck you.
That's how that came about. And It is. It's marvelous. It's like Glenn Close getting up in the shower after she's been stabbed or whatever, or shot by Michael Douglas, and then you think, oh, she's gonna do it in this. That was a Japanese movie. She would have just killed him. She would have kept going. She wouldn't have gracefully died falling down the wall. So but it was a bit of a gamble because with Oiwa Monogatari, it's like there was kind of so much I thought kind of going against us because it was me. And because it was different, and because it was me being different, and it was like it was stepping outside my comfort, like, because Dave and Michael worked hard, and I'm sure they did have challenges with this project, even though it seemed to work really well. So, wow, no complaints. But symphonic metal is kind of their thing. Being in metal bands is their thing. Right. This is my first time being in a proper kind of band, and my first time providing vocals for a song that I hadn't written myself, because normally I'd acoustic guitar and vocals, Ed Sheeran it, you know what I mean? That's what I do. So it was
Dead Sheeran.
Dead Sheeran. Oh,
you can have that one.
I'm taking it. Thank you. It was a weird one. It was hard because it was my first time in so long singing vocals for a song that kind of wasn't my own, if you get me. And even just, can I sing in a non-Venus DeVilo style? How do I keep Venus DeVilo but do something different? And I actually think we managed to achieve that.
Very much
that was so important, keeping what was authentically Venus DeVilo, but being able to elevate it and progress. And it was a very scary time for me because just because of the 10 years of me doing one thing, then suddenly doing something different, and being afraid of, what if I can only do that? What if I'm not a talented enough musician, singer, songwriter, and team leader without having the crux of, oh, it's okay if I sound shit, that's my thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, the result, I won't lie, I did use that as a crutch for a lot of things. I don't need to rehearse, it's fine if I fuck up, I'll just say it's part of the show. Do you know that way? So it was hard to kind of step up to the big boys, but
you did.
I think we did it, and I'll be like 100% honest, like, I did not enter into this project to get anything less than what we have achieved. Like, I'll be very honest, because it kind of almost felt like a last chance for me, because like I'm in my 30s now. I turned 30 in lockdown. It was really horrible.
Oh,
just
baby.
30 in a lockdown. I know, but still, when you're a woman, it's a little different. And it was hard. And when you're like, okay, well, I haven't done music for a few years, can I still do it? Should I still do it? Do I still want what I wanted back then? And then to do a project like this, I was like, right, well, you can either not do it or do it. There's going to be no in between here. Because I think if I'd gone in and everybody's like, that shit, get out, I would have been like, okay, grand. But if I'd gone in and gotten like a meh reaction, because a reaction is better than no reaction, whether it's good or bad.
Absolutely.
If someone had gone in and said, yeah, it's fine, yeah, it's all right, yeah, no, that's a good song, oh yeah, that's nice, like, that would kill me way more than fuck off your shit, because I'm used to that. I get that. I'm like, yeah, well, you are too, and then I'll just keep singing, So it's a weird one. So I honest to God, I went in with the intention I didn't think we could do it. Well,
open some ears.
I didn't think I could, but we did, and I'm just really glad. And I know everybody's really happy, but ultimately it is what the audience thinks on September 10th.
Exactly.
September 10th, when the single comes out, it is what the audience think. It's not about me or anyone else. It is what the fans think.
Yes. Well, I not that people care what I think. I do think
I care, Carl. I care.
We care a lot. I think people are gonna love the song, because it's something different and it's something fresh, and it's the most diverse track on the album as well. So,
ooh, wow, that's certainly praise. Thank you very much for saying that. No, I do appreciate that. It's phenomenal, and it's lovely. And like I said, it's been so good because when you have your ups and downs, and when you lose confidence in yourself, and then realize that you had no reason to lose confidence, it's nice.
That's good to hear. That is good to hear.
And I'm not the only person involved in this project who said that. Like, the absolute overwhelming testimonials and stories from other members of this project who say that this project was so important to them and really kind of saved them and took them out of some really dark places and stuff, especially in a time where
self-included,
where the Irish industry has been desecrated and decimated and demolished, and No one cares but us. So, you know, but again, that all comes back to the DIY rock and roll spirit of just if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
If you want to do something, you will do it. You will make it happen. You know,
Well,
that's what it comes down to.
Let's be honest. We're actually part of history now. In this country, we're doing something that hasn't ever been done before. An album made by an actual country, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, and it's such a pride. I'm so proud to be part of that kind of process. You know, and like that, like you said earlier on, like you've made so many new friends and connections, and so have I. You know, we all have, and like that's what I love. It there is a real kind of togetherness feeling, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
and it's all positivity, and it's the way this is the way Irish metal should have been all along.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what Dara and myself used to always talk about, and now it's I suppose it's coming to fruition now, and we're just gonna unleash that baby and on the world and see how it goes.
That's it. And I don't think people are going to want to change that. I don't think people are going to want to go back to you know, maybe like, because I think a lot of it is just like with the whole element of the Zoom and the online digital element, it did bring people together in a way who might never have ever been in the same room together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at gigs, you know, it's easy after gigs, you know, all go off with your friends and have a few drinks. You know, it just there aren't always networking opportunities. There aren't always mingling opportunities, and Irish people are very reticent about it. I know myself. I'm like, I just can't network. I can't mingle. I can't do it. I'm dreadful. No. I feel like for everybody involved in the project now, regardless forever after, this is something we've all done, and this is the constant icebreaker we will forever have.
Absolutely.
You know, this is it. Like, and it's unreal, and I never thought I'd ever live to see the day where I'm involved in something like this. I just never thought it would happen.
And here we are. Are you going to, without telling me anything, are you going to stay creating music in a band sense from here on?
You mean with my current Ashari project team?
Yeah.
We're in conversation. I think everybody. I think we all agreed that the track was a success, and it was really, like, obviously a lot of hard work went into it, but the process was actually relatively easy. You know, sending stuff back and forth, and you know, we all seemed to gel really well together. So I think the will is there. I think we'd all like to, because I think we all had a positive experience with it. I think we'd all like to. It's all something in an area that we'd because Oya Woman Guitar is exactly the kind of music I wanted to make when I was 8 years old, and all the way through it's the kind of stuff I want to do. So I'm like, I don't want to let it go. I'm gonna be that one person that doesn't want to leave school when it's time for summer. I'm gonna cling to the railings. No, do you know what I mean? Like I would love to go forward, but like the guys are in other bands. I have a lot of commitments in the Venus DeVilo stuff, so it's just whether or not, like, I'm not going to say we are or we aren't. I'd love to think we will go ahead and at least make, even if we don't do a formal band, at least do a few more tracks. But look, definitely here's hoping, but it is literally a kind of a time will tell thing, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Like, I think we're all it's just a coordination thing, and just a life coordination thing, because you know,
that's it. It does. I'm gonna let you go in a second, but before I do, I'm gonna ask you, have you heard of two particular bands? Okay, have you ever heard, I'm assuming you've heard of this band, but I want to ask anyway, have you heard of Tiger Lilies?
Yeah, I don't think I know them. I've heard the name.
Okay, there's your band to check out.
Oh, okay.
I can't believe I got a band that I'm doing this every podcast now. I'm trying to figure out a band who my guests may not have heard before, or may have heard of them and not listened to them. I think they'd be right down your alleyway.
Okay, I will add them to my list. Who are they? Yeah,
Tiger Lilies. They're a 3-piece from England, and it's all kind of vaudeville, carny music. It's very, very strange, and they use a lot of old instruments. And the singer has the singer has a fantastic voice, and it's very high pitched. They have written plays and everything, like so. I think you're gonna like them.
That's my god.
One band, and then the second band is a metal band called Macabre. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
Check them out. They sing all about serial killers and all that kind of stuff. And like they have a full album called about Jeffrey Dahmer, for example.
Oh, lovely.
But like some of their stuff sounds like nursery rhymes as well. So
that's cool.
Yeah, check them out as well. I can't believe I got two on you there. That's deadly.
You got two on me there. I'm gonna get one on you now. I'm gonna get a metal band on you now. No one has ever heard of this, and I've sent this around to some of the big black metal fans around Ireland. I've sent the cover of this album to. Can I reach it from here? Can I reach it from here? Right, there's the band. Where is it? Where is it? Should be there. Oh, where's it gone? Oh yeah, hang on, right? Bear with me a second, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you an album that because right, it's a black metal band. I don't know anything about them, but it's one of the best albums I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't know what you're seeing right now, but I hope you're enjoying the close-up of my pajamas.
Absolutely.
Right? You ever heard of Vampire?
No.
They even have a song about the Grudge. And they are like one of the best black metal bands I've ever heard, and all their songs are just about horror.
Cool.
I don't know if you can see it there.
Vampire.
I found Vampire. The band is called Vampire. The album is called Vampire. This is the only picture of them that is in there, and there's absolutely no information. And when I try and type it into, I'll send you a proper screenshot later.
Yeah.
And when I try to find out information on them online, because it is such a generic name.
Yeah.
Where
do you know where they're from?
No, I definitely Scandinavia. I'd say Norway or Sweden based on the names. So that's your mission now.
I need to check that out. Your
mission now. You do. You will not be sorry. They're such a good black metal band. Cool. But all their songs are like about horror, so it's amazing.
Well, we need to listen to those recommendations and convene and tell each other what we thought of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Vampire. I need to check. And what's the name of the album?
Vampire.
And is it IRE or YRE?
IRE. And this album is from 2013 at Svenska Gramfonstudion.
Oh.
So Svenska, I'd say that's Swedish.
Swedish, yeah.
Recorded at Studio Cobra, yeah. Oh yeah, I can't tell what these names are.
I'll figure that out.
There we go. Martin Gustafsson. Oh no, but that's not him. Yeah, they don't have any. The Hand of Doom was on vocals anyway.
Ooh, the Hand of Doom.
Yeah, guitars was Blackstring, Command was bass guitar, and Ratwing was battery. I'm assuming that means drums.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I'm definitely going to check them out.
I know, right? So there you go.
Fantastic. Well, look, we will wrap up now. It has been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. And I really do think you are the diamond in our rough at the moment. I really do. And I know, seriously, I mean, I can't wait for people. Obviously, I can't wait for people to hear everything on that we're going to release for these 3 albums. But I cannot wait for people to hear this song, and it's like you wouldn't believe how much myself and the community love this fucking song,
Aww.
So I know I just can't wait for people to actually discover you, and
that frightens me.
You've all of us behind you, don't worry.
That frightens me even more. Get away. What are you doing behind me? Might be dinner first.
Listen, Venus DeVilo, and I'm going to give you your real name, Lisa Harris. Thank you so much for coming on to KingWoes Court tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. All right.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
And we are going to get some beers when we can release.
Oh,
this
1
thing.
trillion billion.
I can't wait.
Billion%. It's gonna be great.
All right. Well, for now, folks, KingWoes Court, we are out of here. Bye.
Well, I don't just haunt on Halloween, I'm an all-year-round nightmare queen. Keep your pumpkin heads, I'm searching for my heart instead. I first sort of death, of God's religion, and the secret that easy, dirty and alone. I go from hell with a vengeance eyes. The heart just his knees to be returned. Yea, O Lord, again I so yearn. My curse lives on beyond his day. My myth, the fear for